The first episode of Breaking Bad introduces the audience to the first step in the transformation from an ordinary chemistry teacher to a criminal empire. From the very first scenes, the character of Walter White represents an ordinary, downtrodden man who has given up on life. Living an ordinary life on the sunny streets of Albuquerque, Walter is a character who knows deep down that he deserves so much more, but never dares. Before moving on to the deep analysis of Breaking Bad Season 1, Episode 1, if you subscribe to the channel and like the video, you will both make us happy and encourage us for new content. In the opening scene of the episode, we see Walter White in the middle of the desert, wearing only white underwear and boots. This scene leaves the viewer wondering, who is this man now? What is he doing? Why is he here? These questions immediately connect the viewer to the story in the very first minutes of the first episode, understanding the spirit of Albuquerque. Albuquerque, where the series is set, is in fact the silent witness to Walter White's story. This hot, dusty city in New Mexico is the perfect backdrop for the character's transformation. Sun-scorched desert landscapes, empty streets, uninspiring buildings, everything reflects Walter's inner world. The everyday life of Walter White, portrait of an oppressed man. Walter's daily life is a routine. He wakes up tired in the morning. Struggling with financial difficulties, Walter takes a second job. This job is as an employee at a car wash. In the evenings, he teaches chemistry, the job he knows best. Walter can barely make ends meet because his wife, Skyler, is pregnant, and his son, Walter Jr., Flynn, has cerebral palsy. The economic difficulties make the burden on Walter's shoulders even heavier. Skyler is the last ray of hope in Walter's life. However, Walter does not bear the entire burden. Skyler is a woman who constantly tries to support the economic problems of the household and does her best. Walter Jr.'s illness makes the family's daily struggles even more difficult. When we look at the main theme of the episode, we see a picture of a family struggling with great patience every day, every minute. Breaking moment, cancer diagnosis, between life and death. Things start to get worse. Financial difficulties are compounded by health problems. Walter becomes terminally ill. The first major turning point in his life is when Walter is diagnosed with lung cancer. This 50-year-old man is forced to face the reality of death in the middle of his life. According to the doctor's report, he has only 2 years to live.
Yes. Lung cancer. Inoperable.
Psychological collapse and resistance. This scene also reveals the philosophical subtext of the series. How unfair life is. How vulnerable human beings are. But Walter's reaction is surprising. He shows complete silence, a heartbreaking acceptance. The cancer diagnosis leads Walter to a deep existential questioning. The simple and uninspiring life he has lived up to now. The quiet exhaustion no longer makes sense. The reality of death pushes him to make radical decisions. The destruction of his own conscience and its impact on people's lives begins here. First radical decision, methamphetamine production. This is where Walter White's true transformation begins. Financial difficulties, the sickness of his child, the unborn baby, and his family's worries about making ends meet lead Walter to make difficult decisions. He forgets about his own death and starts to plan what kind of life he will leave behind for his family. As he listens to his brother-in-law Hank's stories of catching drug criminals, a completely different plan takes shape in Walter's mind. Using what he knows best, chemistry, he makes a radical decision. He decides to use his knowledge of chemistry to produce high-quality methamphetamine. This decision is actually an expression of Walter's pent-up energy, oppression, and anger. It is the last rebellion of a man who has been oppressed by the system for years, who has given up on his dreams. This decision is thought to be the most important decision he makes for his family. However, in the following episodes of the series, it will be questioned whether this radical decision she took was actually for her family or her ambition to fulfill her own potential. Meeting Jesse Pinkman, an unexpected partnership. Walter is determined he will produce methamphetamine. But how will he produce it? And how will he sell it? These questions constantly haunt Walter's mind. The answer to these questions is the first step of his plan when he meets his former student, Jesse Pinkman. Jesse is a small-time drug dealer. Walter convinces him to become a partner in chemical processes. This friendship or partnership will be one of the most interesting dynamics of the series. The unexpected collaboration of people from two different generations, two different social strata. Jesse is both a tool and a means of salvation for Walter. Walter is an unexpected mentor, a life-saving figure for Jesse. Both sides seek to benefit from this partnership. Of course, neither of them has any idea what will happen next.
Money? Mainly? There you go.
The Power of Chemistry, first methamphetamine production. The first methamphetamine production scene shows Walter's genius for chemistry. He is an ordinary chemistry teacher, but his potential is immeasurable. With this potential, he turns a simple trailer into a giant laboratory. He plans every step with mathematical precision. Walter's view of chemistry is one of the most important parts of his character. Every reaction, every molecule is a perfect work of art for him. After the first production run, things become more complicated than they expected. Walter and Jesse encounter Emilio and Crazy 8, dangerous figures in the drug market. But when Emilio remembers seeing Walter in the drug bust of his brother-in-law Hank, things get complicated.
Hey, I know you. He was there when I got busted. He's with the DEA.
No!
You rata snitch, motherfucker! Run, Mr. Wright, run!
Walter realizes that he must get rid of this duo. Inside the RV, Walter uses his knowledge of chemistry to produce phosphine gas. This gas suddenly explodes, and Walter immediately throws himself out. Locking the door, Walter strangles Emilio and Crazy 8 to death. Episode finale, First Resistance Against Life. Walter and Jesse's moments of panic during their escape are the most tense scenes of the episode. Walter appears outside the trailer in the middle of the desert, wearing only his underwear and holding a pistol. Walter hears sirens and thinks the police are coming. He has no intention of being caught, so he prepares to kill himself. However, he realizes that the siren is an approaching fire truck, and the danger passes. Walter returns home. Skylar cannot understand his strange behavior. But for the first time, Walter feels strong in the face of life. With this new self-confidence, he takes a more passionate attitude towards Skylar and leaves the audience at the beginning of a great transformation. Some details missed in Episode 1. Walter's chemistry acumen, subtleties in family dynamics, Hank's profile as a cop. Jesse is actually a very emotional character. Cracks in Albuquerque's social fabric. The first people Walter killed. Summary: the beginning of a transformation. The first episode sows the first seeds of Walter White's transformation into Heisenberg. It's the story of how an ordinary man, someone cornered by life, can make radical decisions. The first steps of the transformation of a loser into an empire. Breaking Bad is not just a drug drama. It is a revolutionary production about human limits, moral dilemmas, and the psychology of change. This is how the story of Walter White begins. Remember, this is just the beginning.